Hello, I'm Michael. This isn't really my first time trying to do this. This being losing weight or getting my life into some kind of a structured pattern. Uh, I've tried this many, many times. I've done weight training. I gained a lot of strength, and I was able to stick to the diet. It was great. I was making great progress, and then I stopped. And then I did heated yoga. I did that for on and off for a long time, but I never actually combined that with a diet. So my strength and flexibility increased. I lost some weight, but I wasn't consistent enough with the nutrition piece, and I wasn't truly consistent enough with the yoga piece. I would go every day for 2 to 3 months, and then I would stop going for 2 to 3 months. So it was really inconsistent. Um, I've tried diet alone. I've tried many, many diets. I typically favor lower carb things like keto. I've also done some really hardcore fasting. The problem with the long term hardcore fasting is I ended up just noping out. The moment I failed in it, I fell apart. And I was able to get back on the bandwagon a couple of times. But ultimately, that was a bit much. Um, and I even tried to come back and do like something like DDPY, which is what I'm doing now. Before, back in the summer of 2019, I ran into Jake the Snake at a local comic book shop. And see, so that was kind of fun. At the time, I was thinking about jumping into DDPY, and I asked him about his success with it and what he recommended. And what he recommended was that I start by just watching the DVDs, that I not actually do the program until I had watched the DVDs for a while, and then I would know when it was time to start. Um, Unfortunately, I didn't even try to watch the DVDs then. I had a bunch of other things come up, and I made a bunch of excuses. I was doing pretty well with weight loss then, mostly through just diet, and then the next spring, the pandemic hit, and all of life became lazy. So that that was very, very sage advice, but it didn't work for me at the time. So this past year, I've been working on a lot of personal things. I had a lot of personal issues come up, personal tragedy, and I tried to recontextualize my life. And this isn't really the place to go into the details of that, but um, in a condensed version, I started praying every morning and every evening through structured prayer. And that was just a good way of structuring my life. And that provided me with consistency and hope. And eventually leading to, yeah, let's go ahead and get started on the weight loss thing again. But I didn't think weight loss was quite enough. I wanted to really start looking beyond that, because losing weight for weight's sake doesn't work. And that ties into some of the other things I'll talk about a little bit later when I get into the accountability of what I'm trying to do now as far as the program. But what it did illustrate to me was that small steps are important. I have this really nasty habit of trying to take on too much. For example, I was like, oh yeah, I can totally fast for a year. There's a dude who did that in 1970s. I can do that. Yeah, I made it a month. That's the longest I made it was a month. And a lot of that is I didn't have this really deep motivation. I got to a point where I faced a lot of adversity, and then I just caved. I've read many, many self-help books. I've read things like "You Can't Hurt Me" by Goggins. I've read the Jocko stuff, and all that stuff is well and good. And I believe that you absolutely can do it. You just have to internalize it. And I think I might be too soft for those authors. But we'll get into what I am doing now, actually. So, when I started this time, I did go ahead and follow Jake the Snake's advice. My wife and I started watching DDP yoga in the mornings after morning prayer. We'll just watch. We started with the Diamond Dozen and the Old Energy because we had the DVDs. So we got in this habit, and I realized we were creating space for that to happen. And just building that consistency and building that expectation of consistency really helped me to realize how much I could do it. I wasn't as discouraged because I realized, well, wait, I'm making space, and I'm not holding myself to being able to be an absolute badass and do all the things. Right now, I'm holding space. And as I got through that, we watched it for about a week and a half before we realized that we were ready. So at that point, I went ahead and ordered a chest strap Bluetooth heart monitor. In the past, I never wanted to use them, which is interesting. I'll get to why in a minute. But we did that, and we started doing the Beginner 2.0 with the first video on Sunday. The fact that we're doing this now, the DDP matters because it's a supportive community and it's a really great way to do it. But I actually truly believe that when you're ready, whatever you clamp onto will work. Now, I'm far away from things working, so take everything I say with a grain of salt until you see what I can do and until you see what I've been able to do in my own life. So we did the Diamond Dozen on that Monday. That Tuesday is a rest day in the Beginner 2.0 program, so that was the day that I took my pictures. I have not yet gotten a solid weight. The scale I used to use back in other attempts broke. So I have a new scale that should be arriving today. Then I'll update my starting weight. And then on Friday, when I have another rest day, I plan on taking measurements. So yeah, it's a little bit out of order, and that's what I'm doing. So this was today when I did Energy 2.0. And it's a bit different than Energy 1, which is what I had been watching, but I liked it. And I was pretty happy with myself for being able to spend over half of the time in my target zone. Now, the reason I didn't like heart monitors before is I couldn't really get them to work very well. And I really wanted to focus on moving. When I was doing yoga before, I would often overwork or underwork. And I've really realized that just by practicing 2 days with the heart monitor, I'm like, okay, well, I was messed up. This feedback's really, really useful. The nutritional feedback, I'm using Chronometer. If you happen to have Chronometer or Chronometer or whatever, feel free to friend me. I'm cool with that. I'm always a little bit of a hipster. I mean, with the astrology that I practice, I don't practice modern astrology. It's like 9th century Persian astrology. Hence, the wizard hat. So yeah, feel free to friend me there. But I'm using that also because it's recommended by Dr. Berg. And again, since I favor low carb, that's who I'm going to, is I have a few of those people I'm doing. So I'm absolutely committed to making this work this time, which brings me to the list. So let's see where we're going on that. So this is the list on DDP Yoga. I hope I don't get in trouble for sharing this, but I'm sharing it because I'm showing you my checklist. Write down my why. I have done a private video as to my why, but that's going to need a little bit of work, especially after I started reading the book. I do have my SmackDown goals, which strangely similar to the SMART goals that we learned to do in business. I've joined the members only group in Facebook. I now have the app, so that's good. Hey, look, I'm documenting my journey right now. So positively unstoppable. That is the step I'm on. I'm on page 1. And the reason I'm on page 1 is because that's where it DDP asks you, if you knew that you were going to succeed, what would you do? I'm having trouble with that. That's where I'm at. I really want to suck into the, get my claws into that why. And a lot of that goes back to when I read Silfit and those kinds of things. What motivation will keep me going? So I want to really develop that. Now, I'm not going to let the fact that I don't have it clear, because again, I have shot a basic why video, and I have a feeling it's going to be more of taking that through a alchemical distillation process and getting to the core of why would I say what I said for my why. What is the underlying driving force there? So I'll continue to refine that. Once I get it to a place where I'm a little bit more comfortable, I'm going to push forward and read that book. The rest of the stuff, I've watched plenty of success stories, and I'm going to continue doing that and watching the lectures. I'll get into the nutrition stuff at step 10, but I just wanted to take some time to introduce myself and give you an overview of who I am. So I look forward to visiting with all of y'all who watch this, who interact with me in the various places, and for us to all encourage one another. You can absolutely do this, and I'm doing it with you.